Let's indulge in the taste of the Mediterranean with our savory dish of succulent shrimp paired perfectly with tangy sun-dried tomatoes and tender artichoke hearts. Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Let's Celebrate TV. I'm your host, Peter Lee. Today, our celebration is all about shrimp. We're going to make shrimp with sun-dried tomatoes and artichokes. Let's get started. I discovered this dish from a recipe in the recipe box my mother gave me 100 years ago. It's something she cut out back in the 80s and never made. And I thought, it really sounds good, and it uses sun-dried tomatoes. So I did some tweaks, and here we are. So let's get started. I have a large skillet here, heating up over medium-high heat. This recipe starts out with tomato oil. Where do I get tomato oil from? This is the tomato oil. It's about 2 ounces, 60 mils. There's kinds of garlic and all kinds of herbs and flavors in there, but where did it come from? It comes from this. A jar of sun-dried tomatoes packed in oil. And this little bitty jar is going to give us the base of all of our flavor for this dish. We're going to start off by putting this in our pan with all of those little garlicky bits right in. Next up, red onion. I have just a half a red onion, just sliced up. Garlic is next, my favorite. This is just 4 cloves of chopped garlic. Right in. We're going to just let this cook, give it a little occasional stir for 2 or 3 minutes until the onions start to brown. Now I'm not adding any salt and pepper at this point because that oil has salt and flavorings in it. All right, my onions have started to soften and brown. That garlic is starting to soften, smelling wonderful already. Let's keep building some flavor. This is, after all, shrimp with sun-dried tomatoes. That's what's next. These are those sun-dried tomatoes. Now, that jar was about 7.5 ounces, 213 grams. These are the tomatoes that I drained from that oil. Next up is artichokes. Here are my artichoke. This is actually artichoke hearts. They came from a jar, just like the sun-dried tomatoes. This is the kind I got. You've seen these little jars in the supermarket. They come in a marinade. Now what I did was I drained the marinade, but I reserved it. We're going to use it later. So this is about a 6-ounce jar, weighs out to about 170 grams. They come quartered and everything. They're brilliant, full of flavor. Beautiful. Now I want to add a little heat to this. I have some red pepper flakes. I'm just going to put in a pinch. You can make this as spicy or as not spicy as you like. But I'm putting it in now so that heat will bloom and flavor the whole dish. We're going to give this a few minutes to cook, maybe about 5 minutes, until the artichokes start to brown, the tomatoes will caramelize a little bit. Just give it a stir once in a while. It's been about 5 minutes, and my vegetables here are browning and caramelizing lovely, and there's little brown bits on the pan. Now we want to deglaze it with some white wine. I have 4 ounces of Sauvignon Blanc, which is a dry white wine. 120 mils is 4 ounces. Deglazing means when I pour it in, it's going to get all that browned bits off the bottom of the pan. Those brown bits are called fond, and that's a lot of flavor. Quick stir, scraping up any of those bits. Now remember, I told you the artichoke brine. I reserved that. This is probably 3 or 4 ounces. Whatever's in the jar, just reserve it. We're going to pour it right in right now. Again, it's going to help deglaze the pan and add yet another layer of flavor. All right, that's all in. Now it's time for the shrimp. I have here a pound, 450 grams of shrimp. These are 16 to 20 per pound. And I'm just going to season them with some salt and pepper. Just quickly. There's a lot of salt and flavorings in here, but we want to season all of our layers. Give that a quick little stir to distribute those seasonings. Now these shrimps are completely peeled. I don't like leaving the tails on. A lot of people do, but in this type of dish, take them off. We're going to put these in. Give a little stir to get in that liquid. And we're going to turn the heat down to low. And we're going to put the cover on. We're going to allow these to poach in that liquid. And as it steams and poaches, it will cook those shrimp. Now, do not overcook your shrimp. Shrimp start out kind of long with a little curve to them. As they cook, they get tighter and tighter and tighter. Cook these until they're a C. When they get to a G, they're fully cooked and almost overcooked. When they get to that, they're hammered. Cook them to a C. It's better to pull it off early because they will continue to cook. So that should only be 2 or 3 minutes. It's been about 3 minutes. I'm going to cut the heat. Our shrimp are ready. I'm going to add some butter, about 2 tablespoons, right in. Give that a stir into that sauce. And we're going to add the juice of a lemon. I've got a nice whole lemon here. Right in. Do use fresh lemon. Don't skimp and use the jarred stuff. Beautiful. Finally, basil. Fresh basil. I have a nice little basil plant here. Can't get it much fresher than that. Here it is. Just a big bunch that I picked off, however much you like. Gave it a rough chop. And we're going to put this in. And we'll give it a stir. Beautiful. This is ready to go. So now it's time for the tasting. And here we are, all ready to eat. Look at how beautiful that is. I saved some of the basil that I chopped up. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit more over the top for prettiness sake. Nice and chunky. You don't want to chop it up too finely. You want to know what you're eating. Now, how would you serve this? This will serve 2 people. You could serve it over linguine or some other pasta. You could serve it over rice. I like it just with some grilled bread. So let's give one of these shrimp a little taste. No one will notice. Wow. It's tangy. It's bright. There is so many flavors. There's the garlic, the basil, a tiny bit of heat from that red pepper flakes just tickling the back of my palate. And the sun-dried tomatoes and the wine just make it all bright. It's all brought together. I need to wash it down. Today, I'm drinking a Sauvignon Blanc, which is a dry white wine. What's in this glass is the same that went in here. Very important fact to do, always. Okay, if you like this episode and you learned something, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell, and you'll get a new episode every week. Now I'm going to sneak off and devour this all by myself. While I do that, I want you to watch some of these episodes over here. So until next time, everyone, cheers!